No warning for anybody. We're live streaming
right now.
right now. Too many things going on. Unable to commit to doing a. Oh, wait a minute. We are not framed correctly, but look at this.
Look at this. We have a remote now.
Oh, it's not turned on.
Oh, while Eric is doing that, I will get us going. A warm welcome to you all. This is our Friday live Carnivore Conversations. And my phone is ringing right now, and I have to take this call.
You take that call. I'm back. Holy cow, it's chaos here.
Hello, this is JJ. Oh, I'm doing okay. Let me just excuse myself for a moment.
All right. So it's chaos here in the world headquarters of JJ and Eric Carnivore Conversation. I'm currently solo. Fortunately, nobody's watching yet because we gave you no warning whatsoever that this was going to happen at this time of day. We have kind of a lot of things going on, and squeezing this live in today was in question. But I did not want to miss the opportunity to visit with my carnivore friends, and so here we are. What's going on is we, as we've mentioned many times, we have a whole house remodel that's now wrapping up, and it's getting very tense. And we're getting down to this time when we're going to be actually moving over there. If we ever get any furniture, so we have some furniture being delivered at some point. But it's okay because we also don't have operational bathrooms yet there. So it's going to be probably 2 weeks before we can occupy. We also have a very sick dog, and that's why JJ had to hop off the stream and take a phone call from the vet. So wishes for Lucky, who is not doing so well. Lucky is a 12 or 13-year-old Brittany Spaniel, and he's had some decline, although we put him on a very strict carnivore diet. Because we saw how it was benefiting us. And holy cow, did it make a difference in, I think, extending his life this long. But we've mentioned before, the Brittany's have an undercoat that's this kind of very downy, soft coat. And then they've got their overcoat. And at one point, we had taken him to a groomer, and this individual shaved him with the clippers really, really short. And as a result, his outside coat just didn't grow back along his back for a long, long time. And then it was really spotty. So he was kind of this weird two-tone because he's mostly just chocolate colored. And he was this weird two-tone between dark chocolate on his sides and this tan, thin fuzz on his back. Well, we put him on this pretty much just beef diet. And all of a sudden, that fur started to grow back. And over the course of months, it has slowly crept from his rump and spread, thickening as it gets towards his head. So we'll see. He's not doing so well today, and we're concerned. So wishes for Lucky. If you've got a pet who's you've been changed their diet to carnivore and seen positive impacts, please let us know in the chat. We have a regular visitor to our lives and a regular commenter on all of our videos is Alan, and he has our catchphrase, "Salad is toxic." And we actually mentioned this in a couple of videos. We had somebody in the comments saying, "Why did you say salad is toxic?" And rather than explain that it was kind of an in-joke, I just left it. But some other people piped in and said, well, it could be full of oxalates or all kinds of anti-nutrients. But I just thought it was kind of humorous that something that regular viewers would go, oh, yeah, they say that all the time, and Alan says it all the time. Well, Alan sends us an email, and he has created the shirt. And I'm going to show it to you here. Here it is. The salad is toxic eat beef shirt. I couldn't believe this. Let me get over here. I can zoom in on it. This is not a product that we're offering. Maybe Alan will offer it for sale, but that is the most disgusting salad I've ever seen. It's just so gross. I think that might be an AI drawing of a toxic salad. Uh, so anyway, thank you, Alan, for sending that. That was quite humorous. And I laugh knowing that he's wearing that around, I believe, Texas, and probably not getting a whole lot of pushback on it either. Let's bring me back. I am wearing my where is it? Bid on Beef shirt that I got when JJ and I went to a meetup in LaSalle, Illinois. And it was in part, cattle auction, sort of. And then there was a meetup. And then there was an auction, a Bid on Beef live auction with an actual auctioneer. It was kind of interesting because that's not typically how their website works. Now, if you don't know what it is, we had an interview with Amanda Radke, who's a cattle rancher from South Dakota, and she introduced this idea of Bid on Beef. And we've done a video also. You just search for us and Bid on Beef, and you'll find it, where we get a box, we do an unboxing, we cook the food, and we eat it. And typically they have, I think, once a week auctions for cuts of beef from a very select number of cattle ranchers. Now, we have no monetary relationship with the company. We just used it once, and we went to this meetup, and it was quite interesting. But you bid on maybe 10 pounds of ribeyes or 18 pounds of burger patties, and they're all either Black Angus or Wagyu, and the ranchers have been screened for the highest quality. And based on our experience, it was really good quality. But the meetup was interesting because it happened at Mudge Farms in LaSalle. And so a bunch of these cattle ranchers from all over the place came there to bid on buying actually embryos of future cattle or bull semen. And there was the auction program was this catalog, and it had pictures of the cows. And in it were all these genetic statistics, and including one on marbling. So you could know by the genetics how likely it is to have a very high level of marbling in the finished beef cow. I thought it was fascinating. Maybe other people thought it was extremely boring, but an embryo was going, I don't know, I think Amanda told me that an embryo could be $1,400. So that just sounds like a pretty good business if you have a lot of them for sale.
Well, I know the farmer that we know locally has been saying it's been harder to get calves, and that they're expensive.
The mother cow, which I think was on the cover of the program, she said that cow was worth $40,000.
Oh, wow.
For its genetics and productivity. Wow. I was like, well, you're not eating that one. So anyway, it was a really interesting experience. It was good. And we met a whole bunch of carnivores, which was really fun.
We did. It was really fun at the lunch. We got our brisket. Did you mention the brisket yet?
I didn't mention the brisket specifically.
Well, you should in a moment. But it was funny because so many of them were, sitting down, they'd gotten their butter and they were having their butter with their brisket. Yeah. So it felt very familiar. It was fun.
The brisket did not need butter.
No.
It was the best beef I have ever eaten anywhere ever in my entire life at that meetup.
It was really good. It had, I don't know what magic they did to it, but it had a little warmth, like heat, a little spice heat at the end, but not spicy. It was delicious.
Well, it was catered in. And when I went to get my second plate, I said, this is the best thing I've ever had. What's the secret? And they said, and I said, but it's got some heat to it. And they're like, maybe it's in the rub.
Yeah.
But they would not tell me anything about their secret of how they created this. I've had brisket before and it's been fine, but this was like a complete flavor profile, perfectly rounded, sufficient unto itself. A lot of the times for me, beef kind of needs a side to go with it. And of course, as a carnivore, I don't get a side. So then it needs condiments, but the condiments cause me gut problems.
Mhm.
And so beef by itself, whether it's just salted or seasons, it leaves a little bit to the palate, a little wanting.
Mhm.
But this was, I said I could eat it for every meal for the rest of my life. And I could. So now I feel like I need to be on this quest for how to recreate the perfect brisket.
Mhm.
The problem being is that I'm not the grill master or the barbecue master or the pit master of the house.
I went home and did a little bit of research on it, but I have not come I'm not I'm the grill master of the house, but I am smoke master, grill master, but I am in no way a master. And so I did a little research when we got home on different rubs and techniques and so forth. Um, and I know enough to know that I didn't find what you're looking for yet.
Okay. Well, I did a cursory little watch of YouTube on how to smoke brisket on the green egg, and I didn't uncover any information she didn't already know.
Mhm.
But it's always a risk saying anything at all about the topic because she already has done the research. She's the one who actually watches the Pit Masters and the
Oh.
Barbecue Masters television show. I don't watch it. It's on in the background. I have no interest in the techniques. But now that I've tasted how good it can be,
Yeah.
my interest has gone way through the roof. Because I was like, well, what's the difference between, yeah, it's okay brisket and, oh, that's good brisket? I didn't know that it goes from being, yeah, it's palatable to that is scrumptious and I would eat that instead of other things. Had no idea what the ceiling was for how delicious it could be. And it's starting to make me suspect that maybe steak is the same.
Oh, maybe.
Maybe there's more to it than I thought, and maybe some of the dry aging is requires more effort and pre planning, and maybe that would deliver the better result.
Yeah. Yeah.
And especially if you're going to buy the bid on beef stuff, it's all premium cuts. It's all going to be USDA prime, and it's going to be the highest quality. So you want to treat that meat with the respect
Yeah.
it deserves. You don't want to char it well done, butterflied, and then cover it with ketchup. That would be a disaster.
Not
So,
great. But yeah, there were about 3 banquet tables of us carnivores at that meetup.
yeah, and I'm not
Like
going to
the
be able to
round.
recite all their names,
Oh, I
but
know.
Dunya and her
Yep.
husband Alex were there, and Karen Miles, who's very active carnivore on Instagram. She was like herded us into our tables and
Which
led
was
the
yeah.
drawings for some giveaways.
It's so wonderful for me when there's a person who is a connector like Karen because he's an extreme introvert. I'm a little bit of an introvert. I can do social better than you,
Yeah.
but I'm not good at just saying, "Hey everyone, I'm here. Do I know you? Do you know me?"
Yeah, and Karen doesn't do that. She just tells you where to go, where to stand, and who
Yeah.
to talk to, and it was great.
Yeah. So I so appreciated that.
And I got some tallow moisturizer from I don't remember who made that.
I don't remember who made it
And
either.
then the Carnitarian had Linda Salant had donated some seasoning mixes
Mhm.
as part of it, and then I also got some Redmond's real salt, a little travel size
Yeah.
from the drawing. So that was really fun. We met Who's Your Carnivore
We did.
from Indianapolis, and he's got a carnivore channel that you may be familiar with, but if you're not, you should go check it out and subscribe.
Mhm.
Um, and there were others, but their names are
I
not locked
know.
into my mind.
There's one woman I just remember her so
Oh, there
well,
was
and
Ginger,
Ginger, that's the one I was thinking of.
and I think she had found out about the meetup through our YouTube
Oh, good.
channel.
I'm so glad you remembered her name. Hey, Ginger.
So yeah, if you ever watch this, Ginger, it was nice to see you there.
Oh my gosh, I could not remember, but yeah.
So if you've never gone to a meetup, there and you are social, it's a great idea. If you're like me and vaguely antisocial, it's a bit of a challenge, but I did it and it wasn't that difficult.
No, you did it. I'm very glad we went and connected with everyone who was there and got to experience this
Mhm.
the auctioning, the live auction of both the embryos and the bid on beef auction. But it was not the time were there. It was not a time to have conversation. It was just really loud. So that was a little bit of a
It was
bummer.
so loud because there was an auctioneer
Yeah.
doing his auctioneer thing. And as a matter of fact, I think I can show you a few seconds of that on video. Let's see if this will work. Oh, let me back it up.
That's a very few seconds.
Yeah, so I couldn't follow that at all. I had no idea what he was saying. I didn't know what the prices were. When in the second part, when they did the bid on beef auction, Amanda Radke was there, and she was sort of in charge of the whole thing. And she had told him to slow it down so that the carnivores who weren't used to beef auctions could actually hear the prices.
But I feel like he slowed it down for half a second.
It did start to speed up. But the good thing is that I followed along on the app, and the app generally kept pace with the
Amazing.
bids. So people were bidding from the internet for a lot of it.
Yeah,
So,
it was fun.
yeah, but there was tons and tons of ground beef sold. And it seemed like it might have been good prices. I don't really know.
Danya was keeping sort of track, and
Yeah.
it seemed like overall it was sort of within the realm of what you'd find at Costco or something for prime high quality beef.
So,
Oh, and Ginger, they got some pretty good prices.
Yeah.
I was watching them, and they got
She was on
ground
it.
beef that was pretty good.
So, hi, Liney from Western Australia.
Hello, hello.
Thank you for joining us on this very no notice live stream.
You gave the details, right?
I did. We know that Lucky is not doing well.
No.
And we're getting a vet to come out. And,
we've got to take him in, it turns out.
That's what's going to happen?
4:45.
Okay, good.
So
All
now
right.
we have a time.
We have a time.
Yeah.
That's important.
Yeah.
So you last time talked about how you were starving.
Yes.
All of the time.
I was starving all the time.
And you had a theory about why that was.
Well, my theory was both that my leptin, leptin, I think, is the satiety hormone, I believe, is a satiety hormone. And the ironic thing is it's created by the fat adipose tissues. And so as you lose your adipose tissue, your satiety can go down. And this is biologically good so that we don't starve to death. Like in the wild, we would have eaten more. It would have prompted us to eat more food so that we didn't waste away. So that was my theory. And also the theory that it was fall. And so maybe my body's signaling that I am thinner than I've been in many a decade. And it's time to get ready for the winter. Winter is coming. So those were my theories. But what was interesting is you looked at me. I think we were coming home from the property or something. And you were like, this is going to sound like an obvious thing, but it just struck me, his brilliance. He's like, maybe you need to prime. And instantly I was like, of course I need to prime. So if you're not familiar with priming, it can be a little controversial in the carnivore world, but it's basically something with Steak and Butter Gal's whole gang talk about priming and fasting. Now, you can be in their group without doing priming and fasting. They welcome everyone, but a lot of their content is aimed on the idea that you need to nourish your body well, period. Like that's step one of moving into carnivore is to nourish your body well. And this is because Bella came off of years, I believe, of being vegan. And her body was so nutrient deprived that I think she said she primed, which I'll explain in a moment, for like 6 months or something, where she was just eating all the carnivore things. And she actually gained weight at the beginning of her journey, which was a good thing. So we've talked about it before. It's a time when you're more focused on nourishment and healing and not focused on weight gain. So you're eating in their system, you're eating 3 meals a day kind of whether you want to or not. And you're eating them until you're comfortably stuffed. Again, not like you're ready to purge, but you're like, okay, I'm done. I can't eat another bite. And you do this for a minimum of 2 weeks. My plan is 2 weeks. And again, it's just making sure you're really fed well, that your body understands that it is nourished, and you also psychologically understand that you are well fed, well nourished. So this seemed like a good idea to me because I have been doing eating windows, intermittent fasting for more than 2 years, and I'd increased some of my fasts. I was doing through 2 or 3 longer fasts a month, being about 42 hours or so. And so maybe my body was just needing a refeed. And so I thought it was, like I said, brilliant. I jumped on board right away. And so I think I'm on day 6 of priming, where I'm eating 3 meals a day and eating till I'm comfortably stuffed. What this looks like is usually breakfast, which is the one I usually skip. I have some breakfast. I've been having about 4 eggs, 4 sausage for breakfast, some good butter in there. At lunch, I'm eating about a pound of steak. And then dinner is a much smaller portion, usually, because I'm about done. But the way you know you're done priming is that you can make it through about 24 hours without white knuckling, and your cravings are gone. You're not on this incessant search for food, which is what I was on
Yeah.
for a few weeks. Was I was always hungry, and I was having cravings like sugar, what fruit, whatever. I need to put it in my body now. So I think it's a really good option for me to try. I will be doing a video on it and reporting on it once the 2 weeks are up. But I can say that I'm not feeling starving now. I'm feeling satiated, which is great. And it can be controversial in the carnivore community because people say, well, you should just let your satiety you shouldn't force yourself to eat. You shouldn't gain weight, like be trying to gain weight, which isn't the goal, but you're just not worried about it. And it's going to maybe mess up your satiety hormones. But to me right now, it feels like it is a controlled feast. So I'm going to feast for this 2 weeks. Then I'll test to see if the cravings are gone and if I can go for 24-hour fast without having issues or cravings or starving, white knuckling. And that will signal my body's fed. But I feel like this controlled period where I'm doing it deliberately is much better than just being like ravenous all the time and putting anything into my mouth that I can get. Now, again, mostly carnivore, but still, this just feels much more controlled.
Well, when you were starving all the time, you were eating to satiety
Yes, I was.
during your window,
I was.
and then you were getting hungry again.
Yeah.
So the satiety thing wasn't working.
Yeah. That's the thing. After nearly 2 years of it working, it was not working. So that is an excellent point. Yeah.
So I think it really does mean that your body was like, "Hey, I might be getting a little too on the low end here,"
Mhm.
and
Yeah. Yeah. And I am keeping
you
track of
listened.
my weight. So if we were doing this YouTube channel, I would not weigh myself for 3-4 weeks because I would do the priming and then get back to my normal schedule and then check in. But because we're doing this channel and I want to be able to report to you, I can report that I have gained a few pounds since priming. Yes. Yes, I know. I know. I'd really locked in 127, and sometimes I was 126, but locked in 127, and now I'm 130. So I have gained 3 pounds with the priming. And again, I've just told myself this is a healing, nurturing time. So some weight gain is okay. And that it's, again, controlled. I am choosing to do this. This isn't my body gone haywire and me reacting. It's me choosing to nourish my body for this
Well,
time.
there's no way, given the foods you're eating, that you can overindulge in a way that's going to be
Not really.
dangerous or cause dysregulation.
No, no.
So I think that I was a genius, and
I think you were.
and that you were dutiful in following my advice.
But it has sort of screwed up. We had shifted our eating window, and it's sort of screwed up our common meals now
yeah.
and stuff. It's a little
It's
odd.
temporary.
But it's
Yeah.
temporary. Yeah.
So there's a lot of stresses going on in life, which can contribute
Hmm.
to some of this as well. At the top of the show, I mentioned that we have a sick dog, which is difficult and sad, and also we have a move coming up to a different home, which is
Hmm.
also contributes to it. So
And in the midst of this, we have our college age daughter who will be going back to college pretty soon. And she will be possibly returning to us at Thanksgiving in a new home. Well, we will be in a new home by then. So her childhood home
yeah,
is no more, will be no more. And it looks like, her
so a lot of
puppy, lots of transition for the
lots of
college age.
disruption
Yeah.
in life, but so much to be grateful for.
Yes.
We have an extraordinarily blessed life, and we just got to keep our focus on those things.
Yeah.
And one of the great blessings in our lives are you people.
Yeah.
I don't know. That didn't sound right saying you people, but you folks. I don't know.
My mentor does not like me to say you people or you guys.
How about yous guys?
Every time I've cut it out for the most part, but
Y'all.
yeah, I'd get dinged for that
I
when
think
I would be teaching.
I think it's y'all, right?
Y'all.
The
Yeah.
people say now. But anyway, we we celebrated our 2,000 subscribers last Friday, and we're already at 2,250 or something like that. It's just been going great, and the responses to recent videos has been really great. So thank you guys. It's been really a pleasure and exciting. Let's check in.
Yeah, who's with us now?
Rudy Montez says, Eric, let's see those glasses.
Oh.
Here they are.
Yes.
Are they askew? Because they're always low on one side. They're extremely fingerprinted. Need to clean them. But this is how I usually look, is with my glasses on.
Yep.
But more and more, I don't wear them in the evenings, even when, like, if TV's on or something.
I did notice that.
And I don't have like that carnivore clear vision. I did get that once, but it went away. So I don't know. Maybe it was a placebo. Maybe I wasn't actually seeing as clearly as I thought. But yeah. Let's see. Umbra says on Carnivore, which I started like 5 days ago.
Oh, wow. Welcome.
Yeah. And having a hard time sleeping. Well, I know how that is. I wish I had the answer. I think the thing is to try all the things, but don't try them all at once, because then you never know which one works.
Now, I don't know what your diet was previously. I do have issues sleeping when I am in deep ketosis. I'm not sure after 5 days. Again, it depends what your diet was before. I'm not sure that would be it. But yeah.
I think it's pretty common for people to get some sleep disruption, especially when they're changing their diet. So I would just kind of try to stay with it and see if it passes.
And the life coach in me says, yes, try things and sort of move into acceptance around it mentally. Whenever I have periods where I can't sleep well, I simply am like, oh, well, I'm going to lay down and this is the night I'm going to get caught up on my reading or whatever. I try not to be in a state of suffering, which for me, a lot of suffering is thinking things should be different and then suffering because they're not the way you think they should be. So if I know I'm going through a period of not sleeping, or if I am doing a fast and in deep ketosis, I'm not like, I should be sleeping. I'm like, okay, this is not a time of sleep. This is a time of reading or whatever it is.
That's a nice reframe.
It is. And I mean, it doesn't help you from feeling tired in the morning or unrested, but it does help that mental battle.
I have tried.
Oh,
with the exception of a whole slew of pharmaceuticals, I've tried as many things as I've ever read about, from minimizing blue lights in the evenings, getting sun in my eyes early in the morning, getting sun in my eyes at sunset, magnesium, L-theanine, taurine, melatonin, certain teas that I had. There was a Greek lady once who I knew on Facebook who recommended a certain tea that she swore by. It didn't work. Apigenin, phospholipid, which is something Peter Attia had in his stack, and trazodone, which gave me a splitting
That
headache.
was very short. That was like a couple times, and that
Yeah.
was good.
I only needed 2 headaches in a row to know that one wasn't for me.
No.
But I was desperate because I was getting like 5 hours or less and very consistently. And of course, it spirals because as soon as you have insomnia, you want to sleep and then you worry about your sleep, and the worry about your sleep makes your sleep worse. And how do you get out of that cycle? Well, that's the magic trick.
But you had a period recently that just ended where you were getting about 7 hours most nights. It was really nice.
Yeah, and actually I think it did pretty well last night.
Oh.
I don't know. I didn't look at the data. But yeah, this is a thing. Got to try different things.
But welcome to Carnivore. We're thrilled to have you. We hope you see results and keep us posted on the results you see, both non-scale, and if you are looking to lose weight, you can share the scale victories too. And Bella just put out a great video recently. I think it was about a week ago now. You might have seen it, where she talked about what carnivores, I can't remember the title, but basically she was talking about she's seeing more judgmentalness in the carnivore community of like the carnivore police. You shouldn't be eating this. You should be eating that, et cetera, et cetera. And I've not seen that in our community, thankfully. I think it's been great. But for the most part, carnivores are very accepting and welcoming and aren't policing exactly what you're doing.
Yeah, there's always going to be some people who want you to, or think that the only way to do it right is to do a very
Certain way,
specific
yeah.
restriction, and in certain cases that may be called for. But I mean, you could try to say that in our comments on our channel, and I'm just going to lull. So,
But I do love
has no effect on me whatsoever.
I do love that Bella put out a video calling us to really be kind to one another and supportive. So that's my whole point of bringing it up. Was I'm thrilled you're here. And
Okay. Annette says the whole point of this way of eating is to get in touch with how you feel and what your body needs.
yes.
So that sounds like it's in support of what you're doing, rather than to say, no, you're carnivoring wrong.
I'm carnivoring wrong. And it's interesting, like I talked about last time, you can go along a path for a pretty long time and then things can shift up for you. So yeah, so I'm listening to my body, and right now the priming is working well, and I will keep you posted.
Who's seen our last video that came out Wednesday on inflammation? The thumbnail was a picture of JJ with a bunch of call outs of brain fog and bloat and
my trick ankle.
Your trick ankle, yeah.
Light,
and it said inflammation gone, because the goal with YouTube is to make it as clickbaity as you possibly can. Otherwise, you get 0 views. So Ambra says that they saw it. I've been kind of surprised by the response, but the inflammation reduction from carnivore is the unsung hero of the whole thing. People talk about the weight loss. They talk about being immune to sunburn, which I think maybe it's all part of the same thing. I think it is all part of the same thing. But the inflammation reduction is remarkable. And until you experience it directly in yourself with your own specific maladies, you have no idea. And very often, I think people, as we get older, there's sort of just chronic irritants that aren't full-blown diseases or problems. They might even be irritants you never even talk to your doctor about, because they're just something you think of, well, I'm just getting older. And then you go on carnivore, and suddenly those irritating things just kind of fade away. And you're like, wait a minute. You mean I could have been eating this way for decades and avoided all this? Yes, that's what I'm saying.
And at least you found it now.
One of the irritating things is I have to clear my throat constantly, but that's habitual. That is something I learned from my dad, and I need to just stop doing it, but I feel like I'm going to choke if I don't. Lisa says, I'm late. Watching from the beginning. Well, that's how you should watch all videos, is from the beginning.
It's the very best place.
Alan's salad has a definite Mad Magazine feel to it. Well, for those of you who didn't do what you're supposed to, like Lisa, and watch from the beginning, here's what she's talking about. our friend Alan has created a T-shirt that salad is toxic, and the graphic is this disgusting, grotesque. What's happening here?
I don't know.
My system is freaking out. Anyway, here it is. That is the gross salad. And it's funny to me is that for most of my life, even normal salads looked like that to me. I was just repulsed by them.
It was a miracle when you found when you'd
Yeah.
finally made that you could eat salad, right? You'd tried for so long because it's healthy. You could finally eat it, and then you had your perfect salad that you developed for
Yeah.
yourself. And now
Now I can't have it.
no salads.
So anyway, Ambra says, I'm sleeping way less. Is this normal? And then I'm not overweight, but have always had inflammation in my belly
Oh.
my whole life. Yeah, well, that's how it was for me.
Yeah.
And for me, it did correct very quickly when I went carnivore. And then when I eliminated even more things, especially dairy, it improved more. Although I have added back a little dairy, and it seems to be going okay, but I'm keeping it quite limited. The question about is this normal? I think if you search the carnivore groups all over Facebook and the internet and Reddit, you will see this as a common occurrence. That people that go carnivore and end up sleeping way less. Some will say they just don't need as much sleep.
Yeah.
Or that's their perception.
Or it might be adaptation, like we mentioned before. And you can have a whole variety of adaptation symptoms.
So I would say it's normal, and I wouldn't personally worry about it, but I'm not a doctor.
No.
I'm definitely no sort of healthcare expert whatsoever. So I just want that caveat to be really clear. This is me judging someone else's concerns through my own filters, not with any expertise whatsoever. We like to be intellectually rigorous here, and that means basically when we make things up, we just tell you.
Yeah.
So I think we need to extend some congratulations.
We do. A
to
big
people.
week in the carnivore
I
community.
know of the people watching. The subject of this is not watching, but we're going to do it anyway. And that is congratulations to Dr. Chafee for his engagement. I'll be honest, I thought they were married a long time ago.
Oh.
I had no idea that they weren't yet. So, but congratulations to them. Beautiful picture.
A beautiful picture, beautiful couple.
It looks to me like his proposal to her was a little bit better than mine to you.
Yeah, his proposal to me was
not the greatest.
Our daughter just learned of this year.
She was scandalized.
She was. We were watching the Today Show in the morning before we had to go to work, and I'd always said that I wanted us to, before we bought a house, I wanted to be married. My single mother taught me this lesson. And so he said to me while we were watching the Today Show one morning, I think we should buy a house. And I said, well, and he's like, yeah, I think we should buy a house. And I'm like, okay. And then I left, and that was it. That was about it. And then I went to work that day and I was going, am I engaged? I think I'm engaged.
She was.
Am I engaged? Yeah. And then as it normally happens with us, when we make decisions, he mostly is the driver of this, but things move fast. And so, yeah, we got engaged in March. He doesn't remember this. We were married in May.
I remember that part.
Yeah, you do remember that part. And we had our house in August. And it's the house we're still in.
Yeah, for a few more weeks.
Yeah.
But in retrospect, I would do a better job. The fact that you went along with it speaks worse of you than it does of me. That should have been a red flag. You should have. That's a non-starter.
Well, the thing is, our daughter's like, that is the least romantic thing I've ever heard of, which it is pretty unromantic. But You were pretty romantic at that time.
at that time.
At that time, you were pretty romantic in general. And I mean, I feel like we had 9 years of honeymoon,
Yeah, that's true.
pretty much. Like between when we started dating and then we got married a couple years in, and then had 7 more years where it was like honeymoon period. And what ended the honeymoon, you might be asking, was that I got sick. No, we had my daughter, so relationships shift, but I've talked about my 30s being a decade where I could barely function, and that extended to I was giving everything I had to mothering, and I really didn't have much left for you.
So I would do it differently, but at the time my mental state was that marriage was this technicality.
It was.
It was this legal distinction and that nothing would really change.
We were already married.
And I couldn't have been more wrong. It was completely different. And I still to this day I'm not capable of explaining it, but after the wedding I was like, "Oh, this is not the same thing at all."
It was so bizarre because that we both thought it was just going to be a technicality at that point because we were committed to each other, etc. And yeah, that day both of us were like,
Yeah.
this is
different. This is serious.
different. This is a different level of commitment. So for us, it was
And I've never regretted it.
no, and it was a beautiful, beautiful wedding.
It
for
really
us.
was.
Yeah.
With only us there, a marriage commissioner, her husband as a witness, and the photographer. Hope says, "I'm so sorry to hear about Lucky.
Thank
Sending
you.
him all the well wishes."
Thank you. He's been pretty healthy overall up until now. He's had a really, really good life, and my daughter is home right now,
Yeah.
so that's all. It's been good. And he went on a 2-mile walk with us, and he jumped in. Well, not jumped. He does not jump, and never did jump.
He can kind of stumble.
But he waded into the lake. He was
Yeah.
enjoying the lake the other day. It was a perfectly normal day just a couple days ago. He was doing very well.
Yeah. Hope says, "We have 2 dogs that are completely carnivore.
Yep.
Our dog, de Bordeaux, French Mastiff, had a bunch of hot spots that have completely healed.
Mm-hmm.
He has gained some much needed weight." It is incredible how the animals respond to food.
Yeah.
And yet
Well,
it's obvious in retrospect.
It's funny because Lucky has grown back some of his hair since we moved him to completely carnivore, and our younger dog Arrow, he has been the picture of health since the beginning. Lucky's been the one that's had a little more challenge throughout his life, but again, a pretty overall healthy, happy life.
I think it's the oxalates and the sweet potato we used to give him.
Lucky loves sweet potato.
Now, don't misunderstand. We didn't give him entire sweet potatoes. But when we would have a meal with it, she always set aside a little blob for him because he loved it.
Yes.
And we didn't know we were just stuffing his throat with oxalates. Poor dog. He didn't know any better.
No, he did not. He did not know about the oxalates.
No. We have another congratulation to extend.
We do.
And this one is also to someone who's, I'm going to go out on a limb and say, is not watching our live stream. And that is Bella.
Yes.
The steak and butter gal, married steak and butter guy, apparently out west someplace.
Yeah, it was I think it's Wyoming at the big meetup there.
Oh, okay.
She had said that a lot of their family lives where they're from, and I'm not remembering that right now. So they weren't planning any wedding, but then they decided this big meetup, why not get married there? And they've spent a lot of time in Wyoming with a lot of the people there, and so it's like family. It's their carnivore family.
But look at this right here. Dr. Kiltz married them.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And I know that I think Chafee and his now fiance were there at the wedding.
I think so, yeah. Now,
so it's a carnivore meetup par excellence.
I see this photo and it's beautiful, but of course I see the horse and I just want to ask why the long face. I can't help it.
It's her only joke.
It's the only joke I know.
She knows.
And it makes me laugh every time. So
That's great.
so cheesy and stupid, but it makes me laugh.
Uh, but I mean, if these couples choose to have children, they're going to be immortal carnivore children, and be interesting to see how they grow up and how excellent their health is. They'll probably all be 7 feet tall.
Probably.
Um, Hope says you really need to try sous vide your steak. It improves the flavor and texture. Dry aging in the fridge also helps a lot. I did go through a period where I was sous videing back before I was averse to steak. Maybe I should give that a
Yeah.
shot. I would sous vide and then I do a quick sear at the end. But there was one time where I made the mistake of sous videing it a long time, and that seemed to wreck the texture with steak.
Yeah. There is
Uh,
a sort of a time limit
yeah.
on steak, I guess.
Rockman says, blessings from Wasaga Beach, Canada.
Oh, hello.
Well, I'm going to guess the beach is on the coast someplace. But thank you for joining our live stream. So have any of you been following Dave Feldman and Nick Norwitz and I think it's Dr. Budoff and all those people? They just had one of their studies come out, and it was this looking at lean mass hyper responders, which have lean body mass, high LDL, low triglycerides, and higher HDL.
Mhm.
That's sort of the phenotype is fitting all those things. And they took these people who had been doing a ketogenic diet for I think like 4.5 years, and they did CAC scores on them. And then they compared them to a cohort from, I think, what's called the Miami Heart Health Study. And so they selected a population, I think, of similar body mass or body comp and they were healthy. So they didn't have diabetes or other metabolic illnesses. And they looked at the CAC scores between these. So one had been exposed to keto for a long time and had high LDL, and the other was not doing keto. And I think maybe had normal LDL. It's important, but not really. What they found was the cohort who were exposed to keto and had healthy metabolisms had no increased in CAC scores. In fact, it looked like they might have had less, but I don't know if that was statistically significant. If you search, I think it's probably best to watch if you don't read the study, to watch Nick Norwitz's YouTube video about it. It's very interesting. Now, is this, what do they say in law? Dispositive? Is this absolute rock solid, convincing, irrefutable that high HDL is completely irrelevant? I wouldn't say that it meets that standard, but it certainly brings into question again the LDL lipid hypothesis of heart disease.
Well, I know that Feldman and Norowitz wouldn't say it's absolute either because they are very specific in saying that science is about testing the hypotheses always and willing to be wrong.
Exactly.
So
Now
they are willing to be wrong.
There was immediate backlash, of course, on Twitter/X with a number of people citing it might actually have been Lane, what's his name? BioLane. He was on Rhonda Patrick's thing, and he was talking about carnivores having these high LDLs and then citing that, no, you have to look at the studies and the Mendelian randomization studies. And whenever I hear Mendelian randomization, my brain goes, blah, 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 blah. And what was interesting to me was that in response to that, Dave Feldman this morning put a poll out on Twitter saying, should we at COGSI,
Which is?
I don't know what it stands for, but it's their low carb KetoCon, I think what it used to be called, right? Do a panel where they debate the merits of Mendelian randomization. And I have been following this pretty closely. And there's a guy on Twitter. I wish I would remember his name, but he's very deep into this, and he's citing that there's been this huge boom in publishing papers based upon Mendelian randomization. And the problem is that they're junk because the peer review people don't know how to evaluate them.
Mm.
And so I hear people like Dr. Attia and Lane Norton
Ah.
is what Annette's saying. That's correct. I hear them cite these things with huge confidence. In fact, I remember there was some podcast where Dr. Attia said, if it is now irrefutable that ApoB is causative of cardiovascular disease, if you understand the studies and you have the math. So he was saying if you're too stupid to understand it, then you won't be convinced by it. But if you have the math and you look at it, you will be convinced. And my thought was, well, that's hubris, one. And two, there's some really smart people who are going, I'm not so sure about that. And my own investigation of MR makes me think it is really subject to data manipulation.
You looked at that for a long time.
And abject fraud. And I'm not saying that there is manipulation or fraud. I'm just saying that there's so much data manipulation in the process that if you were unscrupulous and you knew you had a board of peer reviewers who didn't understand what you were doing, you could get away with anything. Joss K is saying it was non-CAC score. It was more invasive tests that also, it was CT angio.
Yep.
CT angio. Yeah. So, I mean, that's looking for non-calcified plaques, which I guess is many people are very concerned about. Ambra is saying, do you think carnivore is good for acne?
Acne is a sign of inflammation. I just watched a Dr. Boz video where she talked about that, generally speaking, acne begins to get much better within, it was like a week or two. I can't remember if it was 1 or 2 weeks, but that is one of the things that she felt and she's seen in her practice that responds extremely quickly. And I think it's about what we talked about in that inflammation video, is that you are reducing your inflammation overall, and you're also removing a lot of the foods that could contribute to you having that skin issue. Now, you do need to be careful of dairy as well. Some people do notice a tie between acne and dairy. So if you are experiencing acne, I would also do no dairy carnivore as an experiment. But again, Dr. Boz said this is a big, big thing that clears up or at least sees improvement very quickly.
Yeah, she quit dairy
Okay.
before,
good.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think that time will tell.
Mm-hmm.
But I would be optimistic.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it is a I think it is a very inflammatory thing. So a cause of inflammation, or a result of inflammation. But, it's going to take a little while to get your skin tone back as well. Hopefully you'll start, if it's you, indeed, you'll start seeing fewer active lesions, and then the skin tone will really correct itself over time. That's a bit of a longer process.
I'm sure that there's a number of people who would watch this who would say also cutting out the seed oils would be a big impact on it.
Yes,
But
you're probably right.
I can't speak to the mechanism behind that.
No.
Annette says the medical literature that isn't tainted is from 1850 to 1920, pre-pharmaceutical companies getting their hands on clinicians and researchers. And boy, do I want to disagree with this, but I just can't.
And I'm sorry, I'm distracted by texts that there's just a lot going on right now.
This is one of those things where in the before times, I was like a rah-rah booster of the pharmaceutical companies. Part of that had to do that I was in an industry that sold to them. But the other part was I was just a science progress. We are going to correct the fragility of the human animal through science. And so I was like, if the FDA says it's okay, they've done so much work to make sure it's non-toxic that it's got to be safe. So aspartame, drink it. If it's a corn oil, drink it.
Drink it, yeah.
If it's some sort of fake food, it's probably better for you than
Yeah.
the old fashioned kind, which, can't be good because it's the old fashioned kind. And I was very steeped in this. There wasn't a pharmaceutical or experimental thing that I wouldn't have tried
Mhm.
because I was just totally on board with it. But I will say that I have had a 180 shift on that perspective over the past few years, which I think a lot of people have had as well.
Yes. Yes.
Oh man. So we talked about that. Um I think we've covered our outline.
Yeah, and in the midst of all this, I have a play meeting today. I am one of the directors. We're a team of 3 for a local youth theater group, and we just started this week our rehearsals for Finding Nemo Junior. We work with 3rd grade through 8th graders predominantly, and it is such a fun creative outlet for me, and we directors have a meeting.
Do you think the kids are infected by the foods they eat?
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. We have a f- we I do believe they are. They cannot go a 3-hour Sunday rehearsal without a break for snacks. And we do have a couple of the kids who really do need a steady stream of snacks all the time. You look at them, they look they look healthy. Like these aren't the kids that are necessarily carrying extra pounds or anything. They seem bright, engaged, and they need that constant drip of food to keep them going. So much so that parents will even they're not supposed to eat in costume. Parents will sneak backstage during shows and take them and hide them in the corner so that we can't see them and feed them their snacks. Seriously. So so yeah,
Hmm,
that is a problem if you can't go a few hours without eating.
that's
That
interesting.
seems like it's a and again, that's what we're told. I'm no fault to the parents. Like that's what we're told. And but yeah, it's a big thing and snack time is a big thing. Like snack time is for most kids more important than the whole rehearsal. I'm serious. It's like it's a big deal.
Oh,
It's a
wow.
big deal.
Well, you said that after the virus and you were able to come back to in person plays, that they also did not know how to sit quietly and watch a movie.
No, it was startling. Um because we've been doing this for 10 years. So we have experience and yeah, when we came back and we did not even take a very long break here in Wisconsin and when we came back it was startling the issues these poor kids had and we were and one of us is a teacher like a couple of us were a teacher. It was crazy, and, I'm happy to say that it took a couple years to get everyone back into
Learning how
this
to socialize in a group.
learning how to socialize in a group
Mm.
and be able to sit for a few minutes, like a few minutes. But we've seen progress, so that's the good news, but we did show a movie this week. We showed Finding Nemo this week, and those kids were in and out the entire time. And this is a Disney movie, right? It's
Mhm.
like, or Pixar, whatever it is. I don't know. But it's short. It's like hour, 20 minutes or something. And I think every kid made about 2 bathroom breaks during that. It was a lot. So it's very different than it once was. But like I said, there's definite progress than a couple years ago.
Okay, we will be back on Sunday with a pre recorded video. I want to point out that when we launch new videos, I
Oh,
set
yeah.
it as a premiere. And what that means is when it goes live at 8 a.m. Central Time, one of us is there in the chat saying hello. And
It's him, usually.
and so some have mistaken that for having been alive when it was a premiere. And so I just want to let you know that that's not the case. So if you want to watch the video as it comes out live with me or JJ in the chat room, That's when it happens,
Mhm.
8 a.m. Central. And then, the video is 20 minutes long or 25 minutes long. And when it's over, then the chat ends. But it's kind of fun. And we've, we want to obviously provide you with the type of content you like, the
Mhm.
type of videos you like. And I'll be honest, when we discuss what to do for a video, we have no idea what's going to work and what isn't going to
No,
work.
we don't.
We have no idea. So often we are questioning, like, do we need to make up some information that we need to present? Or do we just need to show up and just be us and visit with you for a
Let me
while?
rephrase that, not make up some information.
Right? Yeah. Let's see. There's a new lipid particle called the Eric, and it's good for you. That's science.
Uh, but yes, do you like us to work through articles, present some information, do a mini training on inflammation, or have a conversation? What do you like?
Yeah. You can just let us know in the comments, and we may or may not do those things.
But we do like to hear from you, and like you said, give you what you are looking
Yeah.
for.
So thanks again. If you liked this, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, go ahead and give it a thumbs down. That's actually good for us as well. I don't know why it is. Try not to be abusive in the comments. I generally hide those, but
Yeah.
otherwise, let us know your thoughts in the comments. We're always interested to hear your perspective. And we will see you next time.
Thank you